telling me what I should be focusing on. So I'm going to pull that up and try to remain focused on what you want me to focus on.
Cool. Well, we are live, and welcome everybody to the May 14th QuickBooks for Contractors Hangout. We have a very special guest today, Shafat from BillQuick. Has an absolutely wonderful third-party add-on, and Shafat has kind of made the rounds with several of us that are here on this Hangout, but today he's going to focus on time tracking and payroll integration with QuickBooks, scheduling, and we're also going to learn about some of the new features in the new release of BillQuick, and I'm really excited. So with that, let's rock and roll.
Okay, great. I'm going to put on my glasses and do the screen share. So couple of things I wanted to mention. Since we did the Hangout last time with Bruce, which was awesome, and Gina, we have released the 2014 product, and like every year, we really do a lot of hard work on it, and it's about 100 new features in the 2014 product, which is significant, but not significant enough. But normally we do about 200 new features, and this year we did only 100. Primarily because we're working on a brand new product, a ground-up brand new product that's been in development for many years, and some of our developers were tied with that. So we limited to 100 new features, but it's really awesome features. And Nancy did ask me to touch a little bit on that, and I will do so, as we go through the demo. But what I wanted to really focus on is, she said, spend a fair amount of time talking about tracking, payroll item mapping, scheduling, and project management, and then a review of new and improved features. So I'll start with the time tracking aspect of it and the payroll mapping with QuickBooks as an example, and then go down to some of the project management functionalities, and then of course show you 2 or 3 items on the new features. Tomorrow at 9 o'clock, we have actually a webinar. There are nearly 400 people that have signed up for that webinar, and we have a limit of 1,000 people, and I think it's going to be around 500 by the time it's done. And I'm going to spend an hour talking about the key features of BillQuick 2014 tomorrow, the new ones that we added. So definitely a must attend if you're curious to see more in action. But today we'll focus more on BillQuick, QuickBooks, payroll item mapping, and how we make the process of time tracking easy in BillQuick. And of course, Nancy, thank you for the opportunity. This is awesome. Nancy, has got such a great sense of humor. And every time I see her post on Facebook, it makes my day because she's always got something funny. So we were scheduled 2 months ago in February, and one of us probably forgot, and I don't want to mention who it was.
It was me. I will fess up. I'm a big girl. I screwed up big time.
But I thought she was, this was another joke she was playing on me, but she realized, no, we both missed it, and here we are. 2 months later, we made it. Love to do more of these, but something that I want to mention real quick about Google Hangouts. As you probably know, that BQE has offices all over the world. We have office here in California, then we got people in Chicago and Portland, Oregon, and then we got office in Ireland and Finland and Sydney and India. So what we have started implementing at our company is that all our meetings are now handled through Google Hangout. So we love the fact that we can join multiple offices and do a video conference and project it on the TV at zero cost, which it's awesome. So people are loving it. So this is thank you to Google for making all this possible. So what I'm going to do next is my screen share. And share my full screen, and that is basically right here. And Start screen share. And I'm guessing you're seeing my screen, right? Are you able to see my screen yet?
Yes.
There we are.
There you go. BillQuick, right?
Oh, 2014. I'm so excited.
Perfect. Perfect. Excellent. So I have two monitors. You guys are on monitor number 2, and I'm going to present on monitor number 1. So, first of all, many of you probably don't know this, that we did actually add full accounting to BillQuick back in 2011. Considering that BillQuick was originally developed in 1996, it's now 18 years old. With that, the 2011 edition of accounting is kind of still at its infancy, but it is an awesome edition of accounting with an exception of payroll. We do have the full-blown chart of accounts, vendor bills, writing checks, handling banking registers, and all the way down to your financial statement reports such as your profit and loss, balance sheets, and everything else that you care for. So people that do want fully integrated accounting, don't have QuickBooks, want to just have it all in one solution, absolutely fine. But this goes without saying that we are by far the most clicked on application in the Intuit marketplace, and we it brings a lot of traffic to us and very popular with QuickBooks users. So with that in mind, we have developed an award-winning integration right from the day one that QuickBooks opened up their door. As a matter of fact, we were among the first 10 developers to do it. So makes a big difference, in the fact that we were able to achieve that. So what I'm going to talk about today is just in general about where Nancy's sweet spot really is, which is the payroll aspect of it and the employee aspect of it. So I wanted to go ahead and show you a couple of things that you can do in BillQuick for the employee. So number one is that when you open up the employee screen, one of the things you will see is this little blue link to the right of each record. That indicates that this record is already linked with the employee record in QuickBooks. So it's kind of our visual feedback to you saying, hey, these records are already linked perfectly with QuickBooks, so you don't need to do anything. But if I add a new employee, of course, then I have to sync it or send it to QuickBooks, which I can do directly from the screen, or I can do it from the integration menu, whichever way I like. Or if I have real-time sync on, then it would do it in real time. But what matters here is the rate tab for your payroll purposes. So notice that we do have two rates in here. We have the regular pay rate and we have the overtime pay rate. So essentially what happens is BillQuick will associate the cost rate or the pay rate to an employee's time entry based on this particular figure right here for the regular time and this figure here for the overtime. So I'm going to actually round it down to $40 for regular time and $60 per hour for the overtime. Now, you might have an employee that's salaried. So in this particular case, I have $0 in salary. That indicates that this person's not salaried, but should it be salaried, then I can define my payroll period, such as biweekly or weekly, and define the salary on that to allow BillQuick to use those attributes for calculating the cost rate. Finally, on the detail tab, this is where you would come in and tell BillQuick what the standard hours for an employee are per day. So for example, let's just pick CJ here and set his rate to $40 also, and then go in and define the standard hours per day. And I'll explain to you what the difference between standard hours per day and standard hours per week are, and what the purpose of the comp time is. So the standard hours per day play an important role in calculating daily overtime, and standard hours per week play an important role in calculating weekly overtime. Now, if for some reason you're not enforcing per day overtime rule, just enforcing the per week overtime rule, then you could just blank this out and it will only enforce the per week. Or if you're enforcing only the daily one and not the weekly one, you can do either way. And notice this overtime, automatic overtime. you can go ahead and check this checkbox if you want BillQuick to automatically calculate overtime for a particular employee. So I'm going to go ahead and show you now what happens with the with the regular time and overtime, and how BillQuick will associate the rates for an employee. So for that purpose, let's just go ahead and pick any project and enter some time, or any client for that reason. And I'm going to go into my timesheet, and I will do my weekly timesheet for a employee called CJ. And let's just pick a blank week where we don't have any time. Let me see if I have some time on. This is my sample database, and I'm going to find an empty slot in here where I can actually hopefully enter. Still one time entry here, two time entries here. Okay, let's just go ahead and delete those two for the purpose of demo and start fresh for this week. So starting with the week number 1, and we are on the week of June 18th, so I'll stick to June 18th. And let's start with Monday. On Monday, I will work on project A. Doesn't matter which project, and doesn't matter what I do. I am going to work, 7 hours on that particular project. So notice that 7 hours falls under the 8-hour criteria. So by default, BillQuick left this time entry alone and associated a cost rate of $40 to that time entry automatically. By the way, I'm logged in as supervisor, so I get to see the bill rate and cost rate. Normally, your employees will not see this. This is all happening behind the scene for you. Now, if I go ahead and make another entry for the same date, which is June 16th, and this time I'm working on a different job, and I spend 2 hours or 3 hours on the job, let's say 3 hours. Essentially what BillQuick will say, hey, wait a minute, you have a limitation of 8 hours on a regular time, so what it's going to do, it's going to take that 3-hour time entry and break it into 2 parts. A 1-hour time entry, that's a regular time, so there should be $40, and the 2-hour time entry, that is an overtime, and associate the overtime rate on it. So this is a feature when you have automatic overtime turned on, where BillQuick lets you know that it's going to do that. You just say okay, and now it's done the magic for you. It's taken the 1-hour time entry as a regular time and taken the 2-hour time entry as an overtime with $60 and associated the overtime checkbox to it automatically. The rest of the time entries, let's just go ahead and enter more time. Notice if I skip the date, it'll automatically pick the last date, and then I will go ahead and enter more hours for the day. Now, watch what happens is I'm going to enter. Sorry, I should have picked a different date because it actually assigned this as an overtime. So let me go ahead and change the date to 17, and this time I'm going to go ahead and manually uncheck it as overtime and make one more entry for 18th, which is going to be the Wednesday. Let's do 8 more hours on Wednesday. And it doesn't really matter whether the time is billable or non-billable, but I am going to make one non-billable entry just for the purpose of showing you how that is treated. So on 19th now, I am going to do accounting, and guess what? Accounting is non-billable. And I always wonder why accountants don't make money because the entry is non-billable. So here we go, 8 hours for accounting, and it's red, of course, because it's non-billable. So the color coding, visual feedback on that. Once again,
I have a question.
Yeah.
If it's on the 16th, you've got 10 hours there, and it's billable. So is that customer who only got 3 hours worth, is he getting charged for the overtime?
That's a great question. Technically, yes, in this particular case, we did tell the system that there will be an overtime bill rate. But you could come in and not charge the overtime to the customer. More importantly, under the global settings, you could tell the system that when I want you to calculate the overtime, I want you to apply it only to the actual hours, not to the billable hours. So basically, there is a setting in here where you can say it only applies to the time entry hours, which is the cost rate portion of it, doesn't apply to the bill rate portion of it. Or, of course, the other simpler solution would be, as an example, in this particular case, for CJ, I could have said that my overtime bill rate is also 150. So in that case, it would be the same. Now, you know that we don't use the employee rates all the time. We would use the fee schedule. So you would define it in the fee schedule for that particular job, whether the client should be charged overtime or not. So here's the point now. I am going to go to the Friday, the 20th of June, and I'm going to make a 8-hour time entry. Now, at this point in time, how many of you believe this time entry is going to get split? Because that's going to cross the 40-hour mark. So that's going to be 42 hours. So will this time entry get split into 6 and 2?
No, I would imagine the time entry split is only for each day, isn't it?
Isn't overtime up there, those 2 hours up there on the 16th?
Excellent. So good answer from both of you. The answer is no, it won't get split for obvious reasons, because it would not count the overtime time entries towards the split. So because it's already marked as overtime, so I'll only count the regular time before they would split it. If I had made this time entry for 10 hours on Friday, then yes, it would split that 10-hour into 8 and 2 in that particular case. Now, it's an edit at this point in time, and a very important thing that I did here, I edited an existing time, and it does not do the split on the edits, and that's by design, because we often would want to edit a time entry and not have it marked as overtime or regular time, not change that status on it. So should I have to do this edit with regular overtime, I would have to split it into 2. Now, this is, by the way, very common. We see this while we have the automatic overtime rule on in BillQuick. People will come in and delete time entries and edit them and change them, and that kind of skews up our real-time splitting of time entries and figuring out, right? So what we did to address that issue is we introduced a overtime calculator as a tool last year, and it's been really popular to really handle all of these later on changes that might occur. So if I wanted to go ahead and look at the June timesheet from, let's say, 15th of June till the 21st of June, and tell it to go ahead and reanalyze CJ's time card, so it's going to go ahead and do that for me, now automatically recalculating the overtime. So that 10-hour time entry, so that why am I doing it, this 10-hour time entry that I edited from 8 hours will be recalculated into 8 and 2 with 2-hour overtime, because I edited it later on. And that could also be if I would have deleted something, and that would get marked as non-overtime. So just clicking on this checkbox, it will reanalyze the timesheets, and it's done. It said I made some splits. Do you want to proceed? I'm going to say yes. Now if I look at that timesheet again, you will see that it took that 10-hour time entry and split that into 2 parts, 8 hours and 2 hours. So it gives you that extra ability to correct any changes people might have made in the timesheet, which might have changed the overtime status on those timesheets. So the rates are already assigned. Time entries are already categorized. There is a need for people to track double overtime. Okay, so if I wanted to track double overtime, let's say anything I work on a weekend is tracked as a double overtime, I can use one of these flags. I have 3 flags available on a time entry, and I can actually customize the label on that flag by just simply going into the custom labels and telling BillQuick that I want to go ahead and change the status of that label to double overtime. So let's see, did I not? Oh, sorry, I clicked on the wrong one. I meant to say custom labels, and right here under the time entry, I can turn this flag and call it, DBLOT. Actually, let's call it DOT, double overtime. And that's it. That's all I want to do. I want to change the label of that flag to double overtime. So now if I'm back in my timesheet, I have a new flag here called double overtime. And if I want to put some time on Saturday now, which is June 21st, and work on a particular project, doesn't really matter which one, and spend say 4 hours on a Saturday working on computer-aided drafting, I want to mark that as double overtime, and I want to usually use that at a different pay rate, maybe use that at 75 as an example in this case, which by the way you can set up yourself. So we let you handle the regular time, the overtime, and the double overtime, and of course you have two more flags available. So if you have triple overtime, you can do that. So we know some of the companies do actually handle up to triple overtime. So that's all handled within the systems really efficiently. Now, the big thing that I want to show you is how we make it easy for you to transfer it to QuickBooks. So I have a blank QuickBooks file that I created, and I synced my sample data file with it. So if I go under my integration, I go under my QuickBooks, I go under sync settings, which is really the control panel for all your QuickBooks integration settings. That's where you would come in and go under the payroll settings and tell the system how you want to be doing the mapping on your payroll items, employee by employee, or you can do it by employee groups. I could pick CJ specifically, or I can pick an employee group, and I have created some employee groups. I do have one employee group called all employees. So if I choose the employee group called all employees, then I'm going to say, okay, my regular time in BillQuick should hit regular pay in QuickBooks. Now this is the payroll item in QuickBooks. And while we're on it, let's just bring up QuickBooks real quick. And what I'm going to do is, in my list of payroll items, is it under?
Up, second one down.
Second one down. Okay, it's item list. No, is it under item list?
Oh, you're looking for payroll items. You want to go to employees.
Yeah.
Well, actually, payroll. It doesn't look like you have payroll turned on here.
Okay, let's turn it on real quick, because I just created a new company file. So we're gonna go ahead and turn on the payroll. Is that under accounting?
No, payroll and employees. Full payroll. Okay, you got to go back. Get out of here.
Okay.
Go to employee. And payroll, and turn on payroll in QuickBooks.
Oh.
Now, do you have a payroll subscription? If not, we could turn on manual payroll.
Okay. So cancel this.
Okay, manual payroll is fun. Go to the help menu. Type in, hit QuickBooks help. Type in manual payroll.
Okay, as soon as the help comes up, oh, it did actually.
Monitor.
There you go. I'm going to type in what? Manual payroll?
Manual payroll. They hide it. So this is what everybody has to do.
They don't want you to use it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. And now.
Oh, this might take time. So let's just skip adding more payroll items. So let's stick with what it gave us, because it means that we have to specify the payroll calculation. But I'm surprised that they don't even let you add more payroll items, which should have been. Maybe it's under other named lists, but I guess not.
No, it's lists and payroll item lists if you have payroll set up.
Correct. So for some reason, even though I don't have payroll set up, notice that it does display 4 payroll items for me, which is the regular pay, the overtime pay, and all that. So I'm going to map my regular pay in BillQuick to regular pay in QuickBooks. Now, I also have an ability to map non-billable time, regular payroll, to a different payroll item, but I'm going to go ahead and map it to the same one. Then I will map my overtime payroll to overtime pay, and then I'll map my sick time to sick hourly, and I'll map my sick vacation to vacation hourly, vacation time to work. So I don't have overtime non-billable. I will map that also as overtime pay. And then if I had, remember those two flags that we talked about, the double overtime, I would want to map my flag 1 to double overtime. I could really do that easily here. And this is it. Then I'll click on add, and now what BillQuick has done is created a mapping between the BillQuick regular time and QuickBooks payroll items right here for you, without much hassle for all employees in a single stroke. If I want to override it for any employee, let's say I want to go to employee Bob Duncan, I want to override it, I can easily override that and make that employee a different payroll item set, especially let's say he is a salaried employee, then I could do that. That's really all that's needed on your part. A lot of people will also be able to map the items in BillQuick to different chart of account items in QuickBooks, so you're hitting the right chart of accounts, and that's all is done through the account assignment right here, and you go under basically your activity accounts, and these are different items in BillQuick, service items that you can then map to different chart of account items for your income and your expense related to those items.
So you can map an expense, like you send the employee out to Home Depot, he comes back with a receipt, and you can map that right here?
Absolutely, absolutely. Or better yet, let's say, for example, you hire a consultant to do a work for you, and the consultant invoices you. So the invoice that you're going to pay for the consultant is going to hit the expense account right here, and the income you're going to make off of the consultant by billing your client is going to hit the income account. So when you are buying and selling a service, you will specify both the income and expense account. If you are not buying the service, if it's part of your payroll, then expense account kind of becomes irrelevant at that point. So this plays a role where more importantly, where you are actually going to incur something from your checking account that becomes an expense, or through credit card, so that you know what account to hit on the other side of the equation. So that all is done through this mapping in here, but you don't have to do it if you have mapped your service items correctly in QuickBooks to chart of accounts. BillQuick would respect that mapping. It won't change it. It will display that in here, whatever that mapping is. So so once that is done, you've done your payroll settings. You're basically done at that point in time. One big benefit, and this is very important because of the fact that you guys are an expert in this area, you will probably appreciate it more than anybody else. We allow you to assign classes to projects or items. So as an example, I could say that all my income from my PV Country Club project, all the time entries for that particular project should hit a specific class. So let me see if I can at least add one class to QuickBooks. So list of, is that to be turned on too, the classes?
Yeah.
That one's in preferences. Yep, that one's accounting. Company preferences. Use class tracking.
Okay.
Second one down.
There you go.
Right there.
Okay. So let me add one class or two classes real quick. So let's go in here and add new, and let's call this as consulting. So let's say I'm tracking consulting income separately from my tax prep, So I'm breaking it up into classes in that area. So now what I'm going to do is back in BillQuick right here under my sync setting. If I go back to my, I guess I have to relaunch it for it to read, but let's see. So go back to classes, and I'm going to pick my PV Country Club project and say, because that's a tax prep client, so I'm going to, that engagement is tax prep, I'm going to hit the tax prep on that. And then for my DWP, I'm going to put that as my consulting class. So this is something unique we do in BillQuick. You can do it at the project level, or you can do it at the item level. Unlike QuickBooks, where you have to do it at the timesheet level, here you can do it at the job level or at the item level, which really saves you time. So now let's watch what happens with these time entries that we just did today in the sheet view for that particular employee for that week. So I'm going to approve the time. Those of you who don't know, BillQuick does have a built-in workflow. It's optional, but if you do turn it on, then the timesheet has to be approved before it can be sent to QuickBooks. And now that I did approve it, I'm going to send it to QuickBooks right from here by just simply right-clicking on it and saying send to QuickBooks. And all my time entries just went to QuickBooks. There was a progress bar. It went so fast that you guys didn't even see it. But let's take a look at the timesheet now in QuickBooks. Hopefully that feature is turned on. So we're going to pick same employee, CJ. And we are going to pick the same week, which was week of June 15th and till June 20th. Oh, did I? No, it was June 16th. I stand corrected. Okay.
The days are different.
Yeah, the days are a little different here. Oh, because they have a different starting day. Maybe they have a Monday as a starting day. But important thing here, notice the classes that I assigned to the jobs. They're already assigned. Tax prep, consulting, right? So it knows what class to assign based on the job. DWP was consulting, and the other job was tax prep. The hours are automatically filled in, and then of course the payroll items are automatically assigned, and the billable flag is automatically assigned for the time entries. The accounting task for 8 hours, non-billable, and I made one more in here as non-billable. So your timesheet is pretty much done with the appropriate payroll items assigned. I don't think we can see the payroll items here, but if you would be able to see the payroll, all of these regular time and overtime entries would have the appropriate payroll items assigned to them.
Signing classes at the project level is nice.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Either at the class, project level, or at the item level. And if you do both, then of course the project wins when there is, both assigned. But we normally take the item level class. If that's not available, then we'll look at the project level class. I was going to next show you some project management functionalities in BillQuick, unless you have questions about the mapping.
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
And you're going to shoot me. This is not being funny. What about when you have one employee who works at different rates of pay, either on the same job or on different jobs throughout the week? How many straight time payroll items can one employee have?
Oh, the rate can be unlimited. So in essence, you could really associate multiple rates to an employee. As an example, I'll show you a quick example here. Let's take this job here for PV Country Club. And for my PV Country Club job, I want to create a new rate schedule for it. And I want to call this as 2014 rates. And I will deal with only one employee for the purpose of this demo, but you could really do it for multiple employees. So I'm going to say when CJ does site inspection, as an example, or copying. Let's say he does something that he will only get paid. He will only get paid $25 when he's doing copying. He shouldn't be doing copying, right? But when CJ does anything else, so for everything else, we're going to have CJ get paid at $40. So notice what I did here is I said for everything CJ is going to get paid $40, with an exception of copying, where he's going to get paid $25. Now, what happens is when CJ is recording his time, it doesn't matter what interface he chooses to enter his time. He could be doing it on his iPhone. If he picks that particular job, and let's just go stay with the same week, and as a matter of fact, it doesn't really matter. We can do any week. So let me actually do a different week, because I want to keep the data here as raw as possible. Okay, so let's just do a different week here. July 5th week. So July 5th week, so on 7th, he is going to work on PV Country Club. And let's say instead of doing copying, he did a conference call with a client. And for a conference call with a client, it should be $40, right? And notice it is $40 assigned to him. So perfectly done. Same job, and oh, by the way, this particular time entry exceeded. So now same job on a different day, or the same day, for that reason really doesn't matter. For the same exact job, now he's going to do copying, and let's find that copying right here. And notice that as soon as I enter the hours, oh, did I even assign the fee schedule? Oh, I didn't really save it. I should have saved it first. Okay, so let me go back. Same job. For anything else, $40. For copying, it should be 35. So let's see, copying. Oh, sorry, 25. Notice how the rate changed to 25. So Nancy, to answer your question, unlimited amount of rates per employee within a given fee schedule, and you could have a different fee schedule for different jobs, so they can get paid a different cost rate working on different engagements, or they can get paid different cost rate working on the same engagement but doing something different, as like copying maybe $25 but everything else $40, just as we did it here. $25 for copying and $40, $60 and $40 for this, because it got split as an overtime in that particular case.
Very cool. Is that something new?
No, that's been around for a long time. That's a very powerful feature that we had. That where here's something really nice that the fee schedule also we added last year, which was the overtime multiplier. So I could say $25 for this particular task, and I can then specify a different overtime multiplier for that particular job. So I can say for overtime, instead of 1.5, it's going to be a 2.0 on this particular fee schedule. Now it's going to take every overtime entry, take the $25 cost, multiply it by 2 to get the overtime rate of 50. So you can even change the multiplier for the overtime based on the fee schedule.
So Nancy, that would take care of your employee classifications.
Yes, it would.
The prevailing wages.
Yes, it would. And actually, Shafat, I just put a note up in chat for you.
Okay.
See, I
want to know how you got the blue highlights, because my highlights are orange.
He's special. He's the boss. He gets any stinking color he wants.
Actually, that if you have orange highlight, Bruce, that means you're using 2013. One of the things we do every year is we come up with a new color scheme on BillQuick, and if you go under settings and user preferences, this year's new color scheme is called Paris. Last year we had Venice, so we are into Europe a lot, looks like. But but once you're probably into this theme. So notice the Venice theme, how the highlight changed to yellow. All of these highlights are now yellow or orange. So that's your theme last year, and this year it's Paris. So definitely get 2014, Bruce. It's free.
Well, I'm getting it, but I'm not scheduled until next month because I'm getting a server set up first.
Oh, okay. So, can I show you something we did this year that is related to project management and project scheduling that
please
actually won us an award last year for it was actually called People's Choice Award, and this year we enhanced on it. But I love how we did it, and I want to show you what it is. It's called allocation and forecasting, and I want you to really enjoy this because I know you'll appreciate it more than most people do, because you have a deeper understanding of businesses than most common people do. So PV Country Club, and here's what I have done on my PV Country Club. I've taken 4 or 5 employees that I want them to work on this particular project, and I have given them certain amount of hours to work on this particular job. So I have Alan, I have Randy, Bob, Jennifer, Mark, Alan, Marcelo assigned to do certain tasks on this job for 35 hours, whatever, and given them a start date and end date. So the first thing you do is BillQuick will give you a nice Gantt chart of the allocation that you've done. And notice that on the Gantt chart, some of these allocations have a dark yellow fill on them, like the conference here and the tech support and that's BillQuick going in and reading the timesheet in real time and telling you how much of the time has been put into the timesheets against that task already.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So as you put your cursor over it, you can see 60% of the client conference is already being utilized in timesheet. So client conference was budgeted for 40 hours. So basically 60% of the time is already gone into the timesheet. The other thing that's beautiful about it, let's say the first person supposed to be doing a job, because it's usually a team working on a project. She's supposed to finish, Jennifer's supposed to finish the task on Tuesday. But for some reason she couldn't make it to Tuesday. Now the task is going to finish on Friday. So all you really need to do is stretch this task to Friday. So I'm going to drag the edge of it to Friday. And when I do so, BillQuick says, wait a minute, I see there are other people that were depending on Jennifer to finish before they can start their work. Do you want me to reschedule everybody else on the project automatically? And I'll say yes, and it will now calculate the new completion date on the job based on my stretching of the first task.
Wow. Oh my God, that is sweet.
So that's something that we added. Now, 2 things I wanted to show here. One is that when I give Alan Marcello 45 hours to do design calculations on this particular project, when Alan Marcello enters his time, so if I go to the week of February 4th, 2014, let's just do that real quick, and it doesn't really matter how I enter my time, so I'm going to pick, this time I'm going to pick in simple time card, and I'm going to the week of February 24th, and I will put in some time for Alan Marcello for that week, and I will put it against this particular project called PV Country Club, and I will choose the design calculation that he's been allocated to do for 45 hours. And then I will go ahead and put in some hours, let's say 5 hours in here. Now, watch what happens when Alan Marcello puts in 45 hours. Towards the bottom here, let me see what's happening here. Okay, so towards the bottom here, it should actually, this is, it should actually show me the 45 hours assigned, but maybe I'm not looking at the correct date range. Oh, February 4th, okay, my mistake, so I'm on 24th. So week of February 4th is what I wanted to put that time in. So let's go back and put the time in for week of February 4th. Design calculations load, let's put in 5 hours, and watch the lower left corner. Assigned hours 45, used so far 18, 27 left.
Nice.
So
Very
we refer to this as a self-policing feature, where the person in charge of getting the job done is telling his team what you got to do, what you got to work on, and then as they're entering the timesheet, they're now self-policing themselves. They know that they have 45 hours on the task, they used 18.
So the employee can see that.
The employee can see that, exactly. So very important feature. Now, the real icing on the cake for the screen is this calendar view. Where it comes into play, let me actually pull into some data where I have some data. This is where you would, fall in love with the possibilities here. So we are looking at
love your product, man.
all my employees, right? These are all my employees. These are all my titles. Now it's showing me the allocation done to these employees for work by week. And of course, I can change it to go by month if I wanted to. And notice the color coding here, the red one being, over, the yellow one being pretty full, and the cells without any background, that means he can take more work. And I can expand that and see CJ, what jobs he's working on, what tasks he's been assigned, how many hours, when's he going to work on which week, and I can easily have him reschedule to fill in these holes that I need to do. And this year what we did on it, so that you know, is we added this distributed view and this smart view, which is really clever in the way it calculates the work. Notice what happened is when I changed to the smart view, all the red ones turned into yellow. That's because it reconfigured their task based on the smartest scheduling available, all done by the system, a very clever algorithm. Remember, it was scheduled for 40 hours. It took it to 40 hours and put him 10 hours in here because he was free on that week, and the project did have time to go that far. So the smart view does the scheduling for you automatically, while as the distributed view distributes the work over a period of time based on how you allocated it. So the advantage, of course, is if you are like me, you want to see what kind of money am I going to generate by these allocations, right? Now you're looking at forecasting for each week.
Nice, 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 nice.
Forecast by employee, forecast by all employees, and per week, or you can go per month if you wanted to go 10 months or 20 months at a time. So I got $203,000 I'm going to make in January and February and March. And of course, it is parsing my timesheets at the real time. So it's telling me how much time's actually gone into the system and what revenue will be generated by that time that's already gone into the system. So you can see the actuals versus this, because I'm looking back in time. If I was looking forward in time, let's say I pick 2015, something in future, then in that particular case, it would obviously go ahead and show me zeros on the timesheets because there's nothing. I haven't done any forecasting yet on that particular month. But very cleverly done in terms of giving you the visibility into future, because the theme that we had this year was while we give you amazing tools to look back at your data and figure out where your bottlenecks are and where your rainmakers are, we also want to give you the looking glass into the future of your business. And if recession has taught us anything, it is more like we should be more prepared, not for this week or today, but more for months ahead, and know exactly how our business is going to perform in terms of cash flow 4 months from now or 3 months from now, and be prepared months ahead rather than just working on a month-to-month basis. Best way to solve your cash flow problems.
Absolutely.
This is just wonderful. I know so many people who could benefit just from that one little project management piece. Even if they used no other piece of BillQuick, if they used that project management piece, that would be so sweet.
Shafat, I have a quick question. When you were showing where you could hover the mouse over a project, over the Gantt chart, and the color showed 60% completed, as an example, is there a way to generate a report, partway through a project that you could hand on to a supervisor and say, oh yeah, this is what's been completed so far?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So there are two things that are awesome in terms of engaging your team in the schedule. So the scheduling that I'm showing you on the screen is not a one-way path. It's not the project manager telling people what to do. It's also people coming back and telling them what they did. So this schedule gets sent to the employees with a single click right here. Send allocation via email. It puts it on their calendar for the dates they're scheduled to do a task. They then come back in and they will report the percent complete on each task. So you can see what the person is reporting as percent complete versus what the actual percent complete is. So as an example, if you gave somebody 10 hours and he's already burned 4 hours on it on his timesheet, the actual would be 40%. But the employee could say, hey, I'm 20% done. I'm not 40% done. So you can see those deltas also between the employees and all that. And of course, you have notifications where you can subscribe to an event. So you can turn the notifications on for any of these events or any of these assignments and say, okay, when Alan Marcello is done with his task, I want to be notified. So you can say, I am, let's say I am Mark, and I want to be notified when he's done. And how do I want to be notified? Email me. So I can subscribe to an event just like that. And now what happens is when Alan Marcello marks this task as 100% complete, it will send me an email saying, Alan's done with the task, you're next, as an example. So the other thing that you will see in BillQuick throughout BillQuick is the sprint button where we display context-sensitive reports. So one of them is obviously the allocations and the allocation calendar. How much is what's been allocated and what's been spent and all that stuff. So there are a few reports that are directly available to you directly from here. And then we also have a reports menu where under the reports menu you will see these allocation revenue forecast earned, all of that stuff. So so the report that you're looking for, I believe, is by employee. Let me see if this is the one. Which basically takes it by employee and shows you what the thing is. So I could do it by project, by the way. Let's do it by project, which might be easier for you to see. So let's do it by project and preview that real quick. And now what you see here is 5 different people that have been assigned to the job. What the dollar amounts were. Oh, this one's showing you the dollar amounts. I want to show you the one with the units. Instead of the dollar amounts. Really, we show both, but I just picked the wrong one. Let me run it by employee. I think that one was showing the hours instead of the dollar amounts. So here's Alan. Here's Bob Duncan. Here's Bert. Here's CJ. He's been assigned to 3 jobs, and you can see. Oh, this one's. Oh, I didn't know. This one's also by dollar amounts. Let me see. I thought they were by units, but. Let's search. So I'm going to search for allocation in my report engine. Project allocated hour comparison. That's probably the one we're looking at, and it's going to be a lot of pages because I didn't filter it at all. But let's see what it comes out with.
Your reports are awesome. I love your reports.
Thank you. Thank you.
I go in and look at reports from QuickBooks now, and I just want to gag.
Any particular report, Bruce, you like more than the others?
Well, right now I'm enjoying the WIP reports.
Okay. By the way, if you haven't noticed, our report engine runs in a separate thread. So while it's processing this report, which I should have filtered by one job, I could be running another report or doing other things. When the report gets ready, it's shown on the screen. So here it is to answer your question. Was every employee, his assigned task, hours spent, hours allocated, and remaining. So you can actually see the negative ones where he's gone over, his allocations. So very clearly shown that he's got 45 hours to do design calculation. He's put in 13. He's got 32 left. And if you're not aware that we do have a feature where you can schedule a report to be delivered automatically to people on a given frequency as a PDF file via email. So you don't even need to run this report. You just tell the system that this report should be delivered to project managers every Monday morning, and you're done.
I get reports every month. It's awesome. It's like having somebody send me something, and it's actually just the system doing it. It's beautiful.
This is wonderful, and man, I can't believe how quick this hour has gone. I almost feel like we should extend it, but for anybody who's never heard of BillQuick, can you tell us desktop, QuickBooks on QuickBooks Online? Do you use Sync Manager or Web Connector to connect?
Great question. As you probably know, we were among the first few ones to integrate with QuickBooks and QuickBooks Online. 3 years ago, we stopped integrating with QuickBooks Online, not because we didn't know how to, but we believe that they didn't know how to. They were really struggling with their APIs, and their integration with their partners kept breaking, and our customers were not getting the service that we promised them we would. And we just basically stopped it until they get their act together. We obviously communicated very firmly to Intuit and guided them on what we would love to see, and we're working with them. As a matter of fact, the API 3.0 that came out in December is looking more promising, and we're now reconsidering turning on the integration using the API 3.0 for QuickBooks Online. Until that point, we do integrate with all flavors of QuickBooks all over the world, including US, Canada, UK, and Australia, which has a different supplier or a company that actually owns the QuickBooks called Reckon, and we do integrate with that one too. We also integrate with Sage 50, which was formerly known as Peachtree, and we have a similar level of integration with Sage 50. As far as BillQuick goes, I like to refer to BillQuick as providing you with a full 360-degree surround sound. And what I mean by that is that you can get the BillQuick, you can get the Web Suite, which is the browser edition of BillQuick, and both of them come with native iPhone, Android phone, and Windows 8 phone applications. And I want to stress on the word native. There's a big difference between a native app and a web app. It's not a web app, it's a native app that's available in your iTunes store. You download it, you connect to your BillQuick desktop, or you connect to your BillQuick Web Suite. You could be tracking time while you're on the road, tracking expenses. We, of course, let you take a picture of your receipt, attach it to an expense entry, and it's in your system almost instantly, and then it'll flow into QuickBooks as a vendor bill or as a payable expense to it.
And you don't have to get a special app for it like you do with QuickBooks.
Correct.
Shafat, I got to tell you, you have one of the best things out there going right now, and I left QuickBooks for you.
Oh, you did? Awesome.
Sure I did.
I didn't know that.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful stuff. Thank you so much, sir.
Well, pleasure's all mine, and thank you for the opportunity. Of course, I love talking to experts like yourself, and I can't thank you guys enough. I mean, I know Nancy when, and this is really a success story worth hearing. Nancy and me started joining Sleater Conference pretty much from day one. And at that point in time, we were 2 employees, and we were in a building actually in an attic, in an office building, about 180 square feet space. 2 employees packed in there, trying to get BillQuick rolling, and today, because of help from friends like Nancy, Gina, and Bruce, we have gone a long way. We have over 300,000 active users, and we are now moved into a 20,000 square foot building. And I get lost in this building, and that's how big it is. But more importantly, we're 105 employees and an amazing team. And here's the best part. Any of you can Google BQE or BillQuick. You will never see one unhappy customer anywhere, because at the end of the day, we believe that service that we provide is more important than the features we provide. So we don't cut back on features, but we put a lot more focus on service. So all of you, of course, have taken us where we are today, and it's your feedback that's helped us grow. And I really, truly appreciate that. I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart.
Your training staff is fantastic.
Every team member here in California, the whole company is operated primarily from here. All our service support, everything is a walking distance from my office, and we, as I said, we constantly monitor the customer satisfaction and the Net Promoter Score. recommended by a BillQuick user is still the #1 source of our customer acquisition. And we take a lot of pride in that.
You really should, because, you know, I mean, it's been a long haul for all of us developers.
Exactly.
You know?
And working with Intuit in those days when they didn't know what they were doing, and so we were not only trying to fix our application to work, but also teaching them how to do it right. So it's grown over the years, but thank God we are where we are. And I have no complaints. I'm really excited on the investments we made in people and groups like Sleater Group. Can't thank Doug enough for helping us reach where we are today.
Well, with that, everybody, I'm going to stop our live broadcast. And Shafat, really, thank you so much. I want to have you back probably, oh God, I don't know, August, September, as soon as my husband lets me go back on full-time work duty.
Awesome. No, Nancy, I am, and maybe Gina and Bruce might be interested on this too. I'm working on a new presentation that I've been doing a lot of research on for many years. It's basically called...
Wait. Is this something that you want to have like live out there, or should I stop the broadcast?
No, you can keep it live. It doesn't really matter. It's something that you will hear soon. So as soon as that webinar is ready or presentation is ready, I want to share it with you. But to give you an overview of what I've been working on is I'm defining the revenue model for businesses like professional services businesses especially. And remember the fee schedule I showed you where you define your rates? People always think of that as that's only applicable when you do hourly work. But we believe that's actually more applicable when you do fixed fee work, where you charge a fixed fee. So the revenue model of a professional service firm is missing in most professional service firms. Many professional service firms do not know what their revenue model is, and we want to teach them in that webinar how to create that revenue model for your firm and what factors to consider when you're defining your revenue model, which is really your fee schedule, and how we can then get the results that you want to get at the year end, which is your profit has to be where you want it to be, rather than saying, oh my God, why am I not making money? Right. So as soon as that's ready, I will be announcing it. I love to come back with Google Hangout with all of you and share that, because I think your base is going to appreciate it too, and then you're going to obviously cross-teach it to your clients.
Absolutely.
That's a good one for you, Gina.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Looking forward to it.
So I'm thinking about the title being, what is your revenue model, or how to create a revenue model for your business in less than 15 minutes.
Cool.
Great.
And with that, we'll stop the broadcast and leave everybody wondering. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
And we can stay